Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews, where I've got a new light so I can actually be seen. And yes, of course, I'm bringing Tabletop Reviews here, and it's the first game of 2025. It's Donald Duck in Happy Camper. And I just wanted to get this review out there, but it might bomb because there's absolutely nothing on this game right now. There's like no pictures on Board Game Geek. I can find one video about some people talking about the news of it like months ago. So there's absolutely nothing on it right now. So of course I'm recording this a little bit before Saturday when I upload, so maybe there's something by then. But let's first get into the setup and the gameplay. Alright, look at how much light I have. I mean, it's even shining off the box. Super awesome with this thing. I think I'm going to try and do this. Did that do anything at all? I don't think so. Anyways, let's get this bad boy set up. So, and I'm a very nice looking rule book, and what I love is that it have all these like Junior Woodchuck rules. It has like 5 of them spread throughout the rule book. That's really awesome. So this is a traditional board game with a massive ass board with the. Here you go. Here you go. I'm not zoomed in, so this is all I'm getting from my camera at this angle. I'll show the individual areas in a bit. So you have all these pieces here, which are the resource pieces, wood, food, tools, rope. In reach of all players is just what it says. You'll have a little Donald Duck here. He will start up here. This is the starting area. Every player will start up there. So we just grab 2 guys here. Well, that is Shuey and Louie getting up here. That's the starting area. So, what is also on top here, you have these things which show some bonus points to the end of the game. I will talk about those, of course. They have each a position to be placed up here. And you have this entire stack of square tiles which will fill out this entire gap. I'm not going to do too much to shuffle them up, so you just spread them out here. It's almost 5 by 4. You of course have this final area which is a bit special. Knocking to the camera and everything. Let me give you the best. This might need to be sped up. Bam! Filled out completely. And then a whole bunch of different cards here. So, first of all, you have. I'll talk about this in just a second, but you have this entire stack of these special cards here, which they are called something in the rulebook, but you will shuffle them up and they have a space right up here. And then you have these right here, which are special badges. Again, give them a shuffle, and then they have an area right down here. Right, and then you have a whole bunch of here Donald Duck cards. So you'll always have this one. It's the 7th day. It's the last day. It's a 7-round game. The rest you will shove them up, and you'll draw 6 random ones shuffled up and placed on top. The rest you'll throw in the box. Then you have these right here, photograph badges. They'll be placed down here by the lookout. And so the first player to reach it will get the top card, and the next card, next card, right? Going from 8, 6, 4, and 2 points. Then each player, let's talk about each player then. So each player will receive this starting badge. It says down here, starting card. And this thing collector, which again says down here, starting card. Each player will receive one each of those. And you need, I'm not going to pick them apart, I need to figure out a storage solution. These are tents. You have 12 tents and you need all of them for your character. You have sort of a player aid, which is actually quite nice. Like, it's cool that it's made in the color of the people and everything. Of the people, the player colors. But then you'll grab a backpack of, again, your color. And you'll need this little tracker thing. So, let's get into how you play the game. So, to start off a round, you will flip over the first Donald Duck card here, which will say something. It's sort of an ability, completely depending on which one it is, but it's an ability that Donald Duck has, which is either like something that happens in your scout phase, or something like when you pass through his area, if you end your turn on his area, starting, whatever, those kind of things. And then you have your own individual player phases here of the round, right? Your player turn. And you will start off by always scouting. And what scouting means is that you flip over some of these tiles. In a 2-player game like this, you will flip over 2. In a 4-player game, you will flip over 1. And in a 3-player game, I believe you will also flip over 1. Yeah. So this is a 2-player game. So to start off with, they need to touch one of these path tokens here. So I could start off just here. It touches the ones, so I'll start off right here. Now the next one needs to touch, again, either pass or another real one. So I could move into here. Now I would have flipped over these 2 paths, and Donad would move on to the last one I revealed. Obviously in a 4-player game, when you only reveal 1, you'll just move Donad to that one. Okay, I just need to see what that one was, just to show it, but that's something, that one specifically is about moving into his area. Then you look on, oh, I've completely forgotten. Start of the game, you will need one of each, what's it called? Resource, goddammit. So yeah, now I'm just grabbing 4 wood just to show this as an example. But you'll sort of, to showcase how it would look on the board, you'd sort of have your things like this, right? You have your 4 resources down here and your card up here. So now, you get this card here. Actually, what does it say? It says in here, gadget, yes. Because now you have 4 optional turns, right? The first one is use a gadget. So right at the beginning, you only have this gadget right here. You can choose to use it now or a little bit later. This specific one that everybody starts with collects all the resources in the area you're in. This area gives you 1 of each resource. So it sort of have 8 resources. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'd fill up this place. But then you can also move on to the move and build tents area phase. And what you will do is you'll take this little thing and put it on the highest card. That is how much movement you have, right? So that's thinking about before you take that one, because it will leave you with only 3 movement, right? But you have 7 movement. So, and that's just moving on any revealed space from point, you know, never like diagonally like that, only vertically or horizontal, is that what it's called? I think horizontally. So let's see, you could move 1, 2, 3, 4. It takes 1 movement every single time. If you wanted to move out of this area, because it is one of the 4 areas, right? You have cave, that symbol, forest, that symbol, lake, that symbol, and boulder, that symbol. It costs 3 to move out of an area like that. So I use 1, 2, 3, 4. So it costs, 7 to move down there. But what you can also do is end your turn for now and build a tent on here. Let me show you the tile. Down at the bottom it shows you the 2 resources you need to place a tent. So I could pay those resources to build a tent. God damn it. Yeah. So I'm just gonna replace this one up here with a different one just to showcase something. And I need this one as well. So what I would say is I've gone 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Right, so I have 3 left. Then I spent again, it's just wood, but the resources necessary, and built a tent on the tile. Now I can actually build as many tents on the tile as I want, but at the beginning here I obviously only have 1 of each resource. So what could happen now is I've only used 4 movement, I have 3 left. I could do many things. I could just move down here, and the reason I changed it out is because now it's the forest, so it costs the other 2, so you could build another tent down here by moving down here. And obviously then you would move into Donad's area, which would activate this card, but again it's specifically this card, like there are different abilities for every round. And then I could build a tent down there. If it was a card such as this, This is called the Meadow, and it's a card that gives you a resource. So you could end your turn there, and then use your collector, because after you've moved and placed tents, you get to use another gadget. So I could end it there and get another resource if I wanted to, if that was the card that was there. Of course, in this situation, I could go 5, 6, 7, ending over on the gadget space, because then I use again my collector card here, flip it over, and I get a new gadget. This gadget in this example. And of course, I can only have 3 at a time, but you can draw up a 4th. Then you just choose which of the 4 and I have, which of those 3 do I want and which one do I not want. But that's sort of how you move around. But let's say that I ended not taking this one, but ended up placing down here, spending my last 2 resources to build a tent on that one as well. Then I end it all, and I have another turn where, of course, I get to maybe use the gadget that I have. You do that before and after movement. Get to do it. But the 4th and final thing that I can do is earn badges. And badges look like this. And they have some text, something you need to fulfill. And the reason I show this is because now I have a tent on a lake, a tent on a tree. Have a tent. This is the starting card again. Have a tent in 2 different types of adventure area. Right, that's what these are called, adventure area. How? I just did that. So I complete this one, and then I will sort of put it here on the green part of my rucksack, on my backpack, I'll just say. I'll place it sort of on that one, and then I'll draw up 2 new ones, and check them out, and just choose which one I think I will have. 3 tents in lakes, 3 tents in cave. Right. So that's an example of new badges. So I choose whichever one of them I feel most likely to. Now that is my active badge. That is what I'm trying to do. The starting card is of course the active one. Now let's say I didn't complete the starting card. I can still choose to throw it out, say I don't want it anymore, and then draw up 2 new ones to choose one of them to try and complete. And that's what you do in your turn. Then it's your opponent's turn, however many players you are. And then when you end it all, you sort of reset your gadgets if you've used them. You sort of flip them like this and flip them back over. And then get ready for a new round. Whoever reaches the lookout point here, right? That's sort of the point of it, is to try and build out so that you can slowly but surely make your way down to this point. Then you earn a badge. Whatever badge is the top badge. So 8, 6, 4, 2 points. At the end of the game, all of the badges earn you the points they say. But you also have boink. These are things. So what these are whoever has the most amount of tents in this area. So this is the most amount of tents in a cave area, in forest areas and all that. And that gives 6 victory points. You sort of split those out between you. Whoever has the most in those areas, and you score those points, and all the points that you get badges are given you, both these ones and of course the ones from the lookout. And whoever has the most points win. And I think there was like 2 tiebreakers in this one actually. Let me just check those out. Whoever has built the most tents first, and then whoever has the most resources in the backpack. So those are the tiebreakers. But that's the game. Hope it's an overview. Let's get back to the table. Alright. And that is set up in the gameplay of Donad in Happy Camper. And I do insist on saying that full name every time. So the setup is actually nice, and it's really cool to see this grid of tiles, because obviously as someone who loves board games, I'm thinking about designing my own ones. And one game that I had an idea of was one with a grid like that of tiles that are flipped over and flips to show something. So it's really cool to actually see it in practice. I haven't seen a game like that. Of course, again, I haven't played every single game in the world, only about some place between 300 and 400 games. So obviously those games might exist, and you're welcome to comment them in the comment down below with any games that uses that system as well. But it's very cool to see it sort of in action in another game, get some inspiration for my own little idea. But overall, what did I think of it? Well, I thought that bringing in the theme, we'll talk about that later a little bit. The mechanics of it worked pretty well. Those sort of tools that you had, like somehow I can forget the names of things immediately, to collect resources and give you these abilities. I think that was probably the part that was okay, but worked the worst. Like it only had it in those far corners. And once you start building in towards the middle, that's where you want to concentrate, because that's where all the points are. You want to get to the lookout point. You want to get a bunch of tents down to score those points. And maybe they can help, maybe they can't. But in the games, we've only like used it to get those 2 extra to get a full 3. Don't really go over it into 4 to like choose between them, because like with the collector, and if you get like a decent one, it's pretty decent. You have a good time. And it's just too far out, right, away from things that are actually useful. But overall, I like this way of first this thing of Donad having an ability every turn. That works really well with then the scout action, where moving around, and then of course having something to do. Somewhere you move to him, and somewhere it's a good thing to move into the areas. Like if they show up at an annoying time, it's like, oh, how am I going to use this to get an extra resource or whatever. Definitely something that we've sort of tasseled with throughout the game. So that makes it very interesting how you flip over those tiles, obviously, you know. And you know, sometimes you go towards the right or down towards the bottom. Usually don't go towards the middle before like the very end, which is just, maybe it's just the way we play, right? And then the way of having the backpack, obviously I like using your abilities over here, that you get 2 options to do it before and after moving. That opens it up, sort of like if you have the collector and you need some resources, you can get those first and then move in to get the tents and still have something at the end. It works really well to have them on both sides of the movement, and I love the fact that you can move, place a tent, move on. I think this would falter if it was like you have to move and then you put up tents. I think it would falter more, but the fact that you can do like both things within action of each other works really well. And obviously tents, super useful. You can move out of an area cheaper with tents, and that's definitely again something to think about. I had one where I could move a tent, and that made me reach the lookout point at a good point time. One of the ability things, right? So like those combinations are there. Of course there is some luck involved in it, as I said. Going for those tools or those special cards is costly. It's a costly thing to do, and it is, with only 7 rounds, it is a short game, so it might not actually be worth the risk to do it. But overall, like that. And then at the end, just checking if you completed your badge. I love that it's just check if you did it. Right. Some games, I've seen it of course in many other games, just check if you completed this. But there's also some games where it's a specific thing, like as soon as it happens or something. But having just at the end to check if you did this throughout the game, throughout your round, works really, really well. It's superb. And of course the backpack parts, where if you have more resources you can move less. One of my friends, when the first time we played it, commented immediately, that makes so much sense. Right now I'm going to get into talking about the theme here, because he immediately said once he figured out what the mechanic was, I think I taught him poorly, and that's on me. But as soon as he sort of figured it out, he just kind of said, that makes so much sense. Because obviously a heavier backpack, you are not going to move as far in as short of a time. And I love it, because my friend is someone who just like basically only focuses about theme. So when he likes something about the theme, I'm happy, because that means he will probably play it with me some more, and he did. And again, that's just this neat touch. Placing the tents, of course, maybe doesn't make too much sense in considering you use a tool and some soup and some wood and some rope. But those are, again, in terms of having, I see them kind of as a scout, right? The junior woodchucks are sort of the scouts, and I'm a scout. I've been a scout for like bloody 15 years by now or something. So I can relate to this thing, and ropes and some food and some tools and some wood, just useful things. So I see this as like, yeah, definitely, you need these things on your camp. And some of the placements, of course, do make sense. You need wood in the forest. Fair enough, maybe you don't, but sure, it is a mixed match of the theme, and usually we wouldn't place that many tents. But the tent scoring action thing is really awesome. Place as many tents in this area as possible. It is there is an activity within Scouts. We have these relay runs trying to get to certain positions. Of course, you would use a map to go around and you would solve tasks around there. And it sort of reminded me of that. Like, you have an area that maybe you know some of it, maybe you don't know some of it. You go out to relay around. Of course, usually in that situation you will go back to a starting point. In this one you don't. Or just this navigation, you gotta find your way to lookout point. Where you know where it is and you just need to figure out your path to it. It reminds me a lot about Scout activities moving around. You're gonna have a tent with you as well. It's a multi-day walk, or maybe you don't have a tent, but in this instance we do. So it reminds me a lot of the time within the Scouts. Of course, the only difference is you are competitive and alone. Opposite Scouts, we're obviously joined in cooperative. So as a Scout, I really recognize a lot of this, and I do feel like this is Scouts being out on like a trip. A very long trip, a 7-day trip, it's a long trip. But I feel that, and I think that's really awesome. Like, it's both a Donad game that I really like, and a Scout game. And I never thought I would get a Scout game. I didn't even think about it. But it really feels like that to me. And of course, earning the badges. As I said, it's a super awesome mechanic. It makes sense. Like, it's also a thing that you do as a Scout, and it's where I remember when we reached a certain age and we could get like special things. Because obviously there's all the thing you are allowed to carry a knife, you can lit a fire. But as you get older, you are introduced to some special ones that other Scouts just made up, right? And some of it is there's eating a pound of bacon. No, actually, it's not a pound. It's a pound of 500 grams. It's a kilo of bacon. Cooking and eating that in a certain amount of time, or eating some cake in a certain amount of time. These kind of challenging things, and it reminds me a little bit about that. Of course, not fully that ridiculous, but it's these things like some of them are just have this amount of this soup in your backpack, or place multiple tents, of course. But some of these things relating to the food or the tools or something that are a little bit, shall we say, a little bit ridiculous. But it's the fun, but funny to complete. And I could imagine going on a trip and being like, "Yo, hey, we are going to try out this ridiculous thing to try and get a badge. Are you in?" Of course, I'm in. So in every aspect, I can see this as a fun Scout trip, and it's been a large part of my life. I haven't talked about it on YouTube. I haven't had an opportunity to do it like with this one, but I fall into this theme. I absolutely love this theme, and of course I love Donad. I always focus on the board games because that's my channel thing, but I think I've shown it. I have an entire Kallax shelf unit, the size of my board game shelf, filled with Donad comics right over here. And I have even more comics over here, also a lot of Donad. Let me show you real quick. So yeah, all of that, Donad. There's a little bit on the corner that isn't, but all of that. And most of that is also Donad. Like 2 of the shelves are not just full of Donad comics. So these are Donad comics, and scouting are 2 things that have been with me my entire life. So this board game just speaks to me and warms my heart to play. Super amazing. Boy, I've talked a lot of time. Let's talk about the freaking components real quick. The standees are nice. I love that it's just cardboard. Super awesome. The sort of resource tokens are a little tiny acrylic plastic pieces. Super awesome, and a simple symbol for what they are. You know immediately. Cards are perfectly fine quality, and all the tiles that you placed out are nice thick cardboard, so they are easy to place out and they're easy to flip over. And again, just the artwork, the symbols that are all over are super easy to understand. So awesome components. So does it lie to you? Well, it says 30 to 45 minutes, 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. So the ages one is as always the one I have trouble with, but yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a game for younger audiences as well, but it still has enough strategy in it to not be boring for older. So good age there. 2 to 4 players, this is where I step in and say I would probably play it only at 2 or 4. At 3 you have some special things in the setup and some special rules that are going into, of course, try and balance it. Where I think at 2 and 4, just the same setup and a little bit of change to the scout action, but not much. and it works really well. So it works really well at a 2-player or a 4-player game. You're moving around a lot, and so that's where it works. 3 isn't me. And 30 to 45 minutes, I would probably more say an hour, but again, once you learn the game, maybe. I would probably still think an hour, because you are going to spend some time thinking, what's my best route? I have 6 movement, what can I do? So it will take up some time to do it, definitely. So what is the score of this one? Well, I mean, mechanically it is absolutely fine. It works out. There are things that I would point out, as I say, those ability cards things. I've already forgotten what they're called. God damn it. They work a little. If they had areas within the board where you could get one, I would probably be happier about it. The dungeon block cards are fine, but very luck driven, because again, if you get a bad one at a bad time, it's just that's useless, or can just completely ruin your round. So those are a little bit like, yeah, it's fine, but there could have been more to it, right? But overall, I really like it, and of course that theme just So I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a 9, and I'm going to give it a 9 solely because of that theme, because there's so much in this one that just makes me smile and makes me so happy to play it. So I'm going to have to give it a 9. That high, super amazing. So yeah, I'm obviously keeping this one. It's a Donad game that I like. It's a scout game. It's amazing. I spent a lot of time talking and shared some stuff about my life there, but it's really awesome, and I want to be the champion of this game. There's nothing out there. Let me be the first one to say this is really cool. If you like Donad, if you're a scout as well as me, spend most of your life, I think you're gonna like this one. I really do. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!